This is a typical waste delivery to a Metro Vancouver transfer station. One component of this load is clothing, and it's a local example of a growing global issue.
In the Metro Vancouver region, about 20,000 metric tons of clothing waste goes to disposal each year.
It's one of the fastest growing waste streams in the region, so Metro Vancouver and partners have been researching the apparel system.
In 2002, we saw cheaper clothing and a much faster turnover in the number of fashion seasons and trends. There was a survey of women in the UK, and women said they were using an item of clothing an average of 7 times. So that's pretty low usage of clothing. We want to increase the number of times each piece of clothing is used.
The increase in clothing production has expanded supply to second-use businesses, like this sorter grader in Surrey. Continental Textiles Recycling purchases excess clothing from charities and thrift stores.
We take clothing that other people don't want, and we divide it up into as many categories as possible to make as much value added as possible.
Many of their products ship to Africa, where local craftspeople add value to the items.
In the markets, they have hundreds of tailors who are sewing, taking in clothing, fixing, putting on buttons, doing that kind of repair work.
Another valuable output from the sorter graders is delivery of pure fabrics, such as wool or cotton, to industries that remanufacture it into fresh fabric. But mixed material fabrics is on the rise.
Those items will have a very low value when it comes to the recycling stream. And so ideally, you want to be creating materials that have a high value in the recycling stream, which can then be made into new material.
We've seen a big shift in what our clothes are made of in the last 10 to 20 years. It used to be primarily wool and cotton naturals. Now we're seeing about 60% of the clothing fibers are plastic.
Technology capable of separating a fabric's components is in early days, with just a handful of small operations and research projects around the globe. Local leaders have started working together to better understand the issues, to look for opportunities of influence, and share what they are learning. Like at Metro Vancouver's recent Zero Waste Conference, which attracts global leaders in zero waste concepts.
We have been able to create fibers and yarns that look like cotton, look like polyester, look like rayon, but perform like something completely new and different, made entirely out of waste.
This pop-up fabric shop is an example of the growing awareness by business stakeholders in the apparel industry of the growing problem of clothing waste.
We sort for reuse first, and we work with many artists and crafters that tell us what they need. And then if we can find reuse partners, we will send materials to get recycled. We're really trying to exploit all the options first in terms of reuse.
At this point, researchers have identified reuse of fabrics and clothing as the most effective action to curb the rise of clothing waste.
We need to push towards circular fashion. We need to get people to understand about how to wear their clothes more. For me, that's the key message about textiles waste is we all have a role. We all have to manage our closets a bit more carefully than we have in the past. Textiles waste is not something that we're going to solve on our own as Metro Vancouver. It's something that will take collaboration with our member jurisdictions, with other levels of government, and with industry. And so one thing Metro Vancouver will be working on is starting the conversation, making people aware of the issue so we can keep moving forward to reduce apparel waste.